Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the opener of Season 4 for the VRG Virtual Racer League. Coming at you tonight from VIR, this is the Bunny Scramble. We're updating our graphics here, jumping into this season. Coming in hot like these Skippy F2000s here at VIR this evening. The graphics and marketing department throwing together some updated graphics this evening. Missed just a couple. Now we're updated and fresh again here. This is the Season 4 opener. This is Ian Wisdom with the VRG, the Virtual Racer League, Season 4. Currently following Stefan Vappa as he's starting out in this hour-long practice session this evening. We'll be practicing from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll have a 20-minute qualifying session, followed by a 40-minute race here. Looking forward to some exciting action here on this giant course of VIR. I think it's been said by some that if there's a, in fact, I think it was Paul Newman, heaven on earth, it must be VIR. So we're going to sit back, we're going to cruise around the track, we're going to watch our VRL competitors this evening as they scrub in their tires and get their bearings here at VIR, and we'll come back at you a little bit and then pick it up in earnest for the 20-minute qualifying session and the 40-minute race. Again, this is Ian Wisbon welcoming you in YouTube and Facebook land to the VRG Virtual Racer League here, the Bunny Scramble at VIR. Sit back and enjoy, get yourself a beverage, make some popcorn, enjoy the racing, and thanks for joining us. So good evening and welcome, folks. This is the VRG Virtual Racer League Season 4 opener at VIR, the Bunny Scramble. Currently riding along in the roll bar of Ralph Padgington in the Racer Walsh Company-sponsored Skippy F2000. First race of our fourth season here. We did a short 4-race season in Season 3 with these Skippies, and the consensus was that everybody liked them. The handling was more on par with the vintage racing machines that we run in the real world, so we stuck with them for this season. I'm going to jump off of Ralph here because I think we're making him a little squirrely, falling over top of his roll bar there. Pick up Dave Curtis here. We've got a pretty decent season coming at you here in Season 4. This is going to be longer than Season 3 by, I think, 2x bigger. Fitting that we're starting it off at VIR. Quite a intense, large road course here to tackle with the Bunny Scramble. We're going to do a total 8 races here in Season 4. Starting off at VIR, we're going to follow that up with Road America for the Midwest Grand Prix. Race 3 is going to be at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the Can-Am Challenge. Race 4, heading up to Watkins Glen, beautiful Seneca Lake there for the Champions Grand Prix. Then back down south to Road Atlanta for the VRG Virtual Cup. Then back north again to Lime Rock Park for the Connecticut Grand Prix. Then all the way out west to Laguna Seca for the West Coast Classic. And then we're going to wrap up our season at everybody's favorite Summit Point for the Turkey Trot. We're looking forward to a great season here with the VRG Virtual Racer League. Racing here in iRacing. Looks like we've got about 13 racers out here this evening. Certainly if you're sitting at home or watching on Facebook or YouTube, we thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe, hit that like button. And if you got a rig at home and you've been looking for somebody to go racing with, don't hesitate to reach out, get in touch. Stop by vrgonline.org. That's the Vintage Racer Group's website. Hit the contact info page there and we can get you hooked up. Got a lovely little messaging board. You can email and correspond with the other racers. We've also got a Discord server so you can sit in the chat room and waste some time while you're at work, working from home or working from the office. Talk cars, share photos, talk sim rigs. Certainly love to have you join us. The broadcaster here, Ian Wisbon, also occasionally jumps in the driver's seat when he has the opportunity to do so. Tonight I'm broadcasting, but hope to get in there a couple of times this season. And we thank you for joining this evening. We're about halfway through our hour-long practice session here at VIR. Pick it up currently at the top of the timing sheets with Stefan Vappa. Roll out here so we can get a bit better shot of his car. He's coming down that long back straight. Stefan, a master here in this Skippy, spent a lot of time in his early iRacing career, the wee hours of the morning between 4 and 6 a.m., taking part in the open iRacing community, building up his license. Stefan currently out there on an A license, quite accomplished there in the iRacing. Finds that this Skippy handles very similar to the cars that he races in the real world, his Saab, Sonnet, and Formula cars. So, great success here for Stefan, taking the Season 3 championship. We're going to see if he can repeat this season. I expect somebody's going to challenge him for that. Wound up being pretty close last season. We'll see how this one works out. New to the group this evening, Don the Buyer. Apologize, Don, if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Certainly after the broadcast, let me know if I'm mangling that. I do apologize. We thank him for coming out all the way from Florida. Nice thing about iRacing and this virtual racing is, always not easy to get into the rig and tow all the way to the track. From the comfort of your own home, you too can race at VIR from Florida or Laguna Seca from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So certainly if you're thinking about joining us, don't hesitate to reach out. A lot of good drivers and experienced iRacers here, as well as a lot of people new to the virtual racing. Certainly here to help you get up to speed, get on board, and come racing with us. John Wood out here this evening, his elf-liveried Skippy F2000. John having some time here at VIR in the South Course at the beginning of 2020 with Chump Car in his B&W Autosport Dippa Sport 89 BMW 325 IS. Himself, Jim Wisbon, Kevin Michael, and Chief Mechanic Scott Buriak taking on their first race in the car, their first endurance race, a 12-hour, and they knocked it out of the park. So John has a bit of experience on at least 1/3 of this course in great detail. The rest of it he's still pretty quick on. So looking for a good race here this evening from John Wood. Picking up Mac McCormick here for a little bit. You'll see down in the lower left hand of your screen there, Mac's venerable Austin Mini Cooper S, number 109. His Skippy liveried similarly. Mac new to iRacing at the beginning of the Virtual Racer League here at the beginning of 2020. It has come up to speed quickly, found pace and consistency, and continuing to be a threat here. So looking for Mac to start climbing up these timing sheets, as I believe he's particularly fond of this Skippy open wheel racer. Jumping on board here with Kurt Uzbey. Kurt keeping the message board lively, always quick with the memes, funny photos, a quick joke. Increasingly quick here. Was just out at Lime Rock Park in the real world running a Chevron. Understand he had a bit of a rough weekend there, but they are going to get that Chevron put back together. Stronger, faster, better. I believe he's racing out of the KTR shop, so no doubt they're going to do it up to the nines. Christian Bergens joining us once again. Christian also getting out his E30 M3 Warsteiner liveried BMW at Lime Rock, at the Lime Rock Historics, which just took place. Beautiful car. If you have the opportunity to see it in person, I highly recommend it. Number 909, Niall McCabe. You may recognize Niall from his real-world exploits in his Austin Healey Sprite. Niall finding this Skippy also very much suits his real-world driving in car. The car tends to rotate, slide, and generally just be a bit more of a more similar corollary to the real world, though he's getting a little squirrely there, to be expected, perhaps out there on cold tires. It takes 2 or 3 laps before they really come up to temperature here. And Eric Russell, who I understand was recently at VIR himself flagging. We always want to reach out and say thanks to our workers, because without our workers, we can't go racing in the real world. So thank you, Eric, for all that you do, standing out on that corner, wearing your whites, waving those flags, keeping us safe. And anybody else maybe watching out there that works the corner, thank you for what you do, because again, we can't go racing if you're not standing there on those corners. So we'll jump back up to the top here with Stefan, ride along with him for a little bit, jump in the cockpit. I'm going to tap out for a little bit. We'll join you back here in a little bit. Again, this is Ian Wisman with the VRG Virtual Racer League. We got an hour of practice here at VIR for the Bunny Scramble, followed by a 20-minute qualifying session and then a 40-minute race. That is assuming that the race format hasn't changed since Season 3, but I don't think it has. So I'll jump back in here with you in a little bit. We'll touch base with a couple more of our drivers. I see there's a few more who have joined the fray. And we'll look to see who else is going to come out here and challenge Stefan Vappa here for the Season 4 championship. Of course, Stefan walking away with the Season 3 trophy, though it was close and came down to that last race. So enjoy, folks, and I'll be back with you here in just a little bit. Thanks for joining us out there on YouTube and Facebook land. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, share with your friends. Make some popcorn, get a beverage, and enjoy. Recently entering the race this evening, Darren Treacle, who has traditionally been quick in the tin tops, but has had some difficulty here in this open wheel Skippy finding pace. Though he's been quick at times, he's been a bit hampered by it. But I know he's been challenging himself to get behind the wheel and try and set those same quick lap times he sees in the GT3s, which we've raced in prior seasons. So I would expect Darren here, once he gets some heat in those tires, gets comfortable with VIR here, to get a little bit further up the timing sheets here. We're looking for a challenge here out of Darren. Looks like Stefan's still out on top, currently purple at a 2:10.54. Just behind him, about a second back, is Don the Buyer and the rest of the field, though I expect Bob Lang, who's currently third quickest here in this practice session, is also going to get quicker as well. The field looks to be growing. We're at about 17 entrants at this point, so could make for a good race. And certainly everybody else to the remainder of the field is pretty tightly packed together, so I expect a lot of close racing there further down the grid. Stefan, though, looks comfortable and quick. We'll see if anybody can pip him once it comes time for qualifying here. We got about 15 minutes left here in this practice session. We're going to go to a 20-minute qualifying session. And I expect here in short order going to be joined in the booth once again by my most excellent co-host, Steve Akachi, who also tends to jump into the races when he has the opportunity to do so, and his prior seasons, particularly with the Skippy, provided some excellent driver instruction, which your commentator here has taken advantage of Mid-Ohio. If you weren't racing, I managed to qualify P2, but quickly my nerves got the better of me then, and threw that one away rather quickly. But hey, baby steps. Best thing about iRacing, you can jump in the rig whenever you want and improve your skills. We got just under 15 minutes left here in this practice session, then we'll pick up a 20-minute qualifying session. And they're going to continue to bounce around the field as some additional drivers jump in here, and let's see who can find pace, be quick, and have some good, clean Skippy racing here at VIR with the Bunny Scramble, VRG Virtual Racer League. This is Ian Wisbon, your commentator. Thanks for joining us out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Be sure to share, subscribe, hit the like button. Enjoy the racing. Jumping on board real quick with Dave Fitzgerald, one of our good friends from the Washington, D.C. region SCCA. Been racing with us. You can see him down there in his orange BMW E30. Dave mighty quick. I think he was a little late joining the session, so we're going to see if he can keep up here with Stefan just ahead. The hook up on the draft and take advantage of reduced air resistance. Maybe get a bit closer to the top of the time grid there. Looks like he's maybe still out on some cold tires and feeling this car out. A little squirrely yet. Could be the cameraman's curse since I jumped on board and we're in the cockpit with him, which has proven to be true over these last 3 seasons, that when I put the camera on somebody and they're doing pretty well, sometimes it all falls apart. And I promise it's not intentional, but it does seem to be an unfortunate side effect of a live broadcast. Perhaps the drivers know there's millions of people out there watching in YouTube land and they get a little nervous. Though I do understand Ferrari, Mercedes, AMG, and Renault F1 watch the stream regularly looking for future talent. So if you're looking to find a pro drive, the best place to do it is in the VRG Virtual Racer League here. Prove your stuff in here, you're going to get a call from the bigs in the real world. We're coming up here. We got it's about 53 minutes into an hour-long session here. Going to a 20-minute qualifying session. Apparently Stefan's out on top. The rest of the field, starting with Don LeBayer, is about a second behind. And then it gets pretty close from there. So the rest of this field, all the way down through the grid, is going to have some close racing throughout. So it should make for some exciting stuff, and we'll do our best to make sure we keep the camera on the exciting bits. Again, this is the first of an 8-race series here in Season 4. We're here at VIR this weekend, and next week we're going to head out to Road America, which should be a fun challenge. I hope to take part at least in the practice. Perhaps I can get out of the broadcast booth and actually race that track. Never been there. I haven't had the opportunity to drive it yet, but real nice thing about the iRacing simulation, you can go to tracks around the world without having to lose sleep from the comfort of your own home. We'd like to thank you for joining us out there on YouTube and Facebook land. This is Ian Wisbon with the VRG Virtual Racer League. Be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe so you know when we're next broadcasting. Share with your friends. Can't get out and watch some racing in the real world, you can watch the virtual stuff here. Oftentimes just as good. Toes are a whole lot shorter. Racing is just as exciting. And as always, cold beverage afterwards in the pub. Well, as we're coming to less than 5 minutes left in this hour-long practice session here, VIR for the Bunny Scramble, the first race of Season 4 here with the Virtual Racer League. I'm joined in the booth by my most excellent co-host, Steve Ficacci. Steve, thanks for joining us again this evening. How you doing?
Thanks for having me back. I'm doing really well. I'm looking forward to this new season. I feel like the guys made great progress last season in this new car, and I think the only way to go is forward from here.
I agree. It's been it was a short season. Season 3, we did 4 races. Everybody kind of cut their teeth here with the Skippy. And I think generally, as evidenced by the results of the vote, everybody wanted to do another longer season. So we're doing 8 races. It's some pretty fantastic courses, Steve. And I think, to your point, everybody's gotten a bit more comfortable in this car. And really should be a fun season to watch.
Yeah, I took some laps earlier today on this track, and it's not a track I'm super familiar with, although I believe the group probably is much more familiar with than I am. It's a long track with a lot of little technical corners. This car could be a little bit tricky, so just getting a handle on all of them might be a bit unrealistic. So just focusing on the big ones, I think, is going to be the key, and keeping it on the black part. The grass is slippery, and there's a lot of it.
Yeah, and the few times I've gone around VIR in my own practice sessions, yeah, that grass is slippery, and in some places you're carrying such momentum, you can really get yourself out on the range, and it takes a while to climb your way back onto the macadam. So,
yeah, it's a bit comical at times because it seems like the guardrail's really far away, and your car just doesn't slow down in the grass.
Yeah, it almost accelerates, which is kind of odd. I mean, I guess that makes sense. You can't really brake, but
So I noticed we have a few names in the list. I think, I guess last season seeing it on YouTube must have made it look easy.
I guess so. I mean, I'm excited to see. Certainly, we've got a good field this evening. We got 18 cars out here, so we've picked up 6 since we started the stream, and I see a few more names on here I don't know, which is exciting. Certainly, the streaming's helped, and I think people are realizing that, hey, if you can't get out to the real world racing, even in a normal world, you can jump in your seat in the comfort of your own home and go and race a great track like VIR. So good stuff here for sure.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to bring all these guys together in the Corona times when they couldn't get to the track. And I think for the sim part of it, it's fortunate that we're going to be in the winter soon. And they're going to need something else to do. So this will carry right on, and they'll have a good year of sim racing under their belt before they can really go back and hit a full season of real racing again.
I know that I'm looking forward to it for the winter time. It gets you get those winter doldrums, particularly here in Pittsburgh, where it gets pretty gray and gross outside. So to be able to jump in the sim and race at a track like VIR, where it's apparently 70 and sunny, pretty good stuff. Actually, as I pull up the weather here, it looks like ambient temp 78. Got to get the track temperature 105 degrees on the track, partly cloudy, perfect day for racing. So good stuff here.
Looks like we have usual names back at the top with the practice times there. Stefan Vappa and Darren Treacle.
Stefan's been quick, as to be expected. Obviously he's going to have to defend that Season 3 championship he won. He was consistently a second faster through the majority of the practice session. We'll see if that holds true here in qualifying.
Yeah, I think 20 minutes practice here might be in your best interest to get a draft. I mean, the straightaway is very long, and there's 2 of them that can really benefit. I bet you in a car like this, it could be worth up to half a second. And if you're just not comfortable, maybe with your braking points, coming up over the roller coaster hill, which is a bit of a tough corner, but just following somebody who's a little bit faster may help you and just keep you on your marks. Could aid you in lap time that you didn't even know you had.
It's an excellent point about taking advantage of the draft, and certainly that's a part of the racecraft that I think as you get more comfortable and figure out how the mechanics of the simulation work, certainly somewhere where you can find some pace if you're struggling to get it elsewhere, really improve yourself.
Yeah, if I was in this session, practice times are a little bit slower than 2 minutes, and it's a big course. It takes you probably a lap and a half to get the heat in the tires. You don't want to spend a lot of time exiting and returning to the pits to start over with cold tires. So the first thing I would focus on is keeping it on the track, keep the front wing intact for sure. Not accumulate any damage and maximize this 20 minutes. because even in a perfect practice, you'll probably only get 7 laps.
We'll jump on board here with Dave Fitzgerald. He's out on his out lap, getting some heat into those tires, taking it easy.
Nice to have Dave back. I don't think he did any of the races last season.
Yep, I think you're right. I know he took a break, maybe just to relax, maybe to go practice a whole lot and come back and kick everybody's butt. I suppose we shall find out.
Yeah, so last week there was a iRacing update. Many of the new cars got an updated tire model, which is going to affect the cars a little bit. I didn't drive a ton last season, so I didn't pick up on a big difference. But you know, in the past few seasons, the tires take a few laps to come in, and just getting that right temperature, the car will be very loose and oversteering until those tires come in.
I haven't spent much time since the most recent update, though I did treat myself to the new Dallara LMP2 car, which is really a treat to drive. Took that out at Daytona for a little bit and turned up the wick on my direct drive wheel. That was an exercise. It was a blast. The car is amazing, even in a baseline setup.
Yep.
I enjoyed every minute of it, but I could only do about 20 minutes, particularly at Daytona, because you're just hanging onto the wheel for so long when you're up on the high bank. I type on a keyboard all day long. I got to start lifting weights if I'm really going to get serious about that car with a lot of force feedback in it. So I turned it down a little bit so I could enjoy it a little bit more, but really just a pleasure to drive. If you've got the 1195, I would highly recommend picking up that Dallara LMP2. It's most excellent.
I was looking forward to the Corvette, and I did not buy it. And I ended up getting the off-road track Crandon, and I haven't done a lot of off-road racing, but I had a great time, and I think week 14, just driving that with just, I mean, it was a bit of a mess because it's not ranked racing, it's just everybody thrown in there, but it was a good time.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play with the dirt track racing stuff as well. Did a little bit of rallycross and I guess the free Volkswagen. Certainly completely different driving style and mechanics, so I'm going to have to work my way up to that one.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that this week, and I figured out that there's a different technique you need for the asphalt part of the track versus the dirt part of the track.
Yeah, for sure. And I was kind of very amazed by the performance of the car. I mean, certainly it's built to drive like that, but kind of drives exactly like I imagined a WRC car drives in all those years of watching WRC.
Yeah. I really like the livery Dave's using here on his Skippy.
I do. He's got the Holden on there, which would be the Australian
Supercores, right?
Yeah. We're just over 5 minutes into this 20-minute qualifying session here. Stefan out on top of the 2:10.9. The rest of the field a bit behind. Seems we have a number of competitors still in pit lane, probably getting their cars figured out or still on their out laps.
Yeah, these cars typically run best at the lowest minimum pressure, but if you're a little bit unsure of yourself, especially at a track like this with the elevation and the fast corners, you can put a little bit of air in the tires to give you a little stability, which will give you some confidence attacking these corners.
Picking up here with Carlos Bonds. Looks like he might be running Hello Kitty this evening.
Yeah, sure is. Pink with hearts.
There you go. Sanrio coming in with some contingency money there, I'm guessing, if he puts those cats on top of the podium. It's amazing how well that John Player special livery carries over to most any car that you put it on.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? I didn't even watch these cars when I was young, but it still looks great.
Had several Randy Owens paintings hanging on the walls at the family house over the years. A couple of them featuring Clark having it off there and demonstrating the new damage model here for the Skippy.
Yeah, that was a big off, unless he was just looking for a quick reset.
Perhaps. John Wood out here in the Tyrrell.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going for a vintage F1 look this week, but kind of fitting to this old car.
Yeah, I think everybody's
Style of car almost looks like the old cigarette style Formula 1 cars.
trying to live the dream. Plus, the liveries back then were quite excellent. Not to say that today's are necessarily bad, but, you know.
I'll say that. I like the old ones. The classic looks. There's clean lines. Some of the cars today are very busy, and I don't think it translates well to a car.
Yeah, they were very much more understated back then. You know, you had your primary sponsor and I guess whose ever tire and fuel you had in the car, and that was about it. So I certainly can appreciate the old liveries as well.
I think everything got thrown in the garbage. All the old thinking when the wraps came around and you could just do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, I've not quite pursued a wrap. It'd be kind of funny to go to a wrap shop and give them one of these old liveries that's got basically nothing on it. So I did make some changes to a couple of things, Steve. The race chairman reminded me that the name of the league is actually the Virtual Racer League, so updated graphics there. PR and marketing department here in Pittsburgh ran with Virtual Racing League for the first 3 seasons. We've since corrected that, and PR and marketing has been sacked.
So okay. I saw the email, and I read it. I processed it, and I was like, okay, this is no big deal. I went to join the groups chat, or whatever it's called, the message board, and it wouldn't load. Because it was looking for groups, virtual racing group, not virtual racer group.
Yep, apologies.
Yeah.
I'll certainly talk to tech support about that one. We'll get you fixed up. If you haven't.
Yeah, I know we got a handle on it.
Well, along with Kurt Uzbey, was out at Lime Rock Park recently for the Historics with his Chevron. Had a bit of a shunt there coming together with a Jaguar, unfortunately, but we understand from Kurt the Chevron will be put back together, mostly cosmetic damage, which is good to see. Glad to hear Kurt safe. So,
yeah, I saw that video. That's super unfortunate.
Yeah,
could have been a lot worse, I think, but I mean, never getting damage is a good thing.
It certainly wasn't at the track with Kurt when it happened, but he seemed to be taking it about as well as anybody could.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I was reading his messages, and I was like, I think I'd be a little bit angrier. And he, being angry isn't going to fix it at this point, but I don't know. Surely, I don't know. I think he took it really well.
And picking up here with Eric Russell, I was saying a little bit earlier in the stream, Eric was at VIR, I believe last weekend, flagging for an event, and wanted to make sure we thanked our corner workers. We thank Eric for being out there, putting on the whites, waving the flags, because without our corner workers, we can't go racing in the real world, so we certainly appreciate it. Eric,
yeah, it's a bit of a thankless job, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when it's, sunny and 100 degrees and, it's a little hot, but we're all loving it, or it's 50 and raining, and he's still standing out there doing that for us. So thank our corner workers for that hard work.
Watched a bit of Formula One, and they had some accidents this season that took a while to clean up, and they said because of the different protocols in the different countries, there's not as many corner workers as there used to be. So just even watching racing on TV, you take it for granted and don't realize the efforts that go into make a race run smoothly.
Yeah, and I spent several hours watching the Le Mans coverage. There was that one unfortunate shunt at the entrance to the chicane on the Mulsanne. There was Armco, and there was stuff everywhere, and two corner workers out on track with almost comically sized push brooms trying to clean up the mess that was created. And, you know, and it's extremely dark, and there are cars moving extremely quick. Though they were running the slow zone in the area, so cars limited to 80 kph in that area, but still exciting stuff. And you know, I gotta make sure every time I'm at the track and I see somebody in their whites to say thank you, because that's hard work.
Yeah, many years ago when I first started racing, I was doing go-karts, and we had people who just show up just for that. They weren't with family, they weren't with anybody, they just came up and did it, and it's really amazing. People show up to help out like that, and you know, when you're young like that, you don't really always realize how necessary all that is, but it's definitely an effort to put together an event like that, and having people do jobs that aren't always the most glorious or glamorous is really helpful.
Yeah, and for anybody that's listening out there that might have some young ones that can't quite get into racing just yet, but want to get involved, certainly reach out to the VRG and any of our events in the real world where you want to lend a hand. Plenty of stuff to do. Certainly happy to have you. Registration, tech, any of those things. Could always use another helper. So we're almost 3/4 through qualifying here, Steve. It's looking like Stefan's probably got this one in the bag, but the rest of the field pretty close together. So should be make for some pretty outstanding racing from the top 2 or 3 back.
Yeah, the mid pack's very wide. There's a broad range there, and should promote good racing. I think everybody has set a time at this point, so I'm really hoping that for 40 minutes we'll have racing from start to finish. It's got a lot going on there. It's like a billboard.
That he does.
Looks like Stefan's gone faster than he went in practice. It always amazes me. You have an hour to set a fast time, and in the 20 minutes when you need it, you can find a little bit more.
Yeah, well, and Stefan's one who pays very close attention to what he's doing, so I'm sure he was taking mental notes and had a few things he was going to try out once he got to qualifying. So he's pretty unstoppable here in this Skippy. But
I hope he's not that unstoppable. We need a good. We're looking forward to a good season.
Got a nice train running here, though. The fact that the race is probably going to be quite similar here as the rest of the field's all running similar lap times.
I do think we have a bit of a cooling track, so the track should get a little bit better for everyone as the race goes on. We are at, I guess you'd call it, I don't know if you call it simulation time, but we were simulating it. It's about 4 o'clock. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the track is cooling off. I noticed at the end of practice it was 105 degrees on the track surface. Now we're getting closer to 100. So, in the next 40 minutes, it'll continue to drop, and time should go with it. I think the drivers will appreciate a more secure feeling too. It'll give us a little bit better racing.
Yeah, and all the talk of Project Cars 3 lately and how it's more simcade or arcade than actual driving sim. And I've lately dabbled around a little bit in ACC and Automobilista 2, and you start to really appreciate just how much detail and accuracy is in the simulations, and particularly iRacing. To your point, Steve, with the weather, the track temperature, the behavior of the cars as those things change, just like in the real world. Very similar to what we experience when we're at the track.
Yeah, I think for purposes like we use, I think iRacing is a little bit lacking. For when we broadcast like this, there's a couple of things that could be better just for the casual fan. Things don't always look as super realistic as they can. But I think the important things for the drivers, the track conditions and the weather conditions, the way the car reacts to things. I mean, I think that stuff's all spot on, which is where iRacing's focus has been. But every once in a while you'll notice something maybe in the background doesn't look as real as it could, or maybe like a person's kind of looks like a cardboard cutout. But the important parts are there for the simulator part of it.
Well, and the adrenaline's about the same. Last season, speaking a bit from experience, qualifying second place in Mid-Ohio, thanks to your instructional video there. First of all, I was pretty impressed that I did that well in quali, particularly because I think it was my last lap in the session that put me in that position. But, that adrenaline hit coming around on that very short pace lap, and very quickly threw that one away, which very similar to the real world in that regard. And I can promise you I wasn't looking at the renderings of the spectators, but from my point of view, looking out the front of the car, could have been there, which is pretty amazing.
Well, I guess it was 2 seasons ago now, we did the tech track of New Jersey Motorsports Park, which for a YouTube viewer is about worst case scenario, but I don't think any of the drivers noticed there was anything off about that track.
Yeah, and I think some of the racing that we had in New Jersey was, quite exciting, particularly because I think the GT3s were, probably a bit too quick of a car for that track, but everybody certainly had fun. And it's a track that the VRG racers know and love pretty well, so nice to be able to go to tracks that we know in the real world, just like VIR.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back there now with a Skippy. Being so much narrower, it almost makes the racing wider. You know what I mean? It gives you more options. Where there were many spots where the GT3 cars just had to follow each other because there's just not enough room to fit 2 cars side by side. Skippy, you could probably fit 3 or 4.
So we're coming up here to the end of this 20-minute qualifying session. Stefan's out on top of the 209.9. Darren Treacle second quickest, 211.25. Looks like he's trying to catch up, but I don't think he's going to have it here. And I will apologize if the stream gets a little jumpy there. I think I bumped up my my rendering in between seasons and forgot to turn it back down for the better of the stream.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the YouTube during practice, and it looks rock solid.
Thank you. So once timing and scoring gets the scoring sheets up to us here in the booth, we'll set the grid here for our 40-minute race, the Bunny Scramble at VIR at the VRG Virtual Racer League. My name is Ian Wisman, and I'm joined up here in the booth, Steve Ficacci. Steve, once again, we thank you for joining us here. I'm hoping that you and I both get a chance to jump in the car and we can stick Series Chairman Karamanis up here in the booth while we go have some fun. What do you think?
8 race season. I think there ought to be somewhere in there we can figure it out, right?
That's what I'm hoping for. I'll make sure I give him a sheet and tell him that we're both busy, so we're gonna be doing something else those nights we can't stream.
Yeah, we should pick out our best tracks now.
He's not here. He can't say no, so.
Yeah, he got outvoted.
So our drivers are going to head back to the pits here now that qualifying is over, get their setup, set their fuels, and then we'll pull up the grid here and take a walk through that once we get that from timing and scoring. Nice blimp view here, I believe, once again here in Season 4, sponsored by Treacle Insurance. Takes care of all of your insurance needs, home, auto, race car, and tow rig. But do reach out to Mr. Darren Treacle if you need some insurance.
You know what? Maybe after this race, I'm gonna send him a message. I'm a little worried about my car sitting in the garage. I don't think my homeowner's insurance would cover it if something happened.
Yeah, you know, they tell you it will. At least our insurance guy did. But, you know, you always wonder.
Yeah. Well, you think, especially the vintage racing, you know, you tell them you have a 65 whatever. They have one vision of what that was, and you know what it was.
Yeah. Both appreciated in value, plus all the blood and sweat and money equity that you poured into it. So we'll have a 40-minute race here. Got to update the overlay one more place here. Bunny Scramble at VIR, and we should have our grid here in just a little bit. I think we're just waiting for Darren to get back to the pits. And it sounds like he has returned. As our competitors make their way to grid, we'll run down through this. Qualifying in pole position, we have Stefan Vappa. Second place, Darren Treacle. Don LeBayer, new to the Virtual Racer League. Qualifying P3, Dave Curtis in fourth. Got Bob Lang rounding out the top 5 there, followed by Dave Fitzgerald, John Wood, Todd Angel, Carlos Bonds, Scott Luttrell, Ralph Padgington, and the Racer Walsh ELB Racing. Christian Bergen's there in 12th place. That got there. So next up, Clark Rorstrom, Kurt Ousbay, Mac McCormick, Ralph Solomon, Eric Russell. Wrapped up there with Niall McCabe in 18th place. Looking for a hard charger there for Niall McCabe. See if he can make his way up to P1. Give Stefan a run for his money.
Yeah, I'm not exactly confident that there's going to be much of a challenge to Stefan. He's shown that he's very fast, and last season's championship proves that. But I really think we're going to have some good racing in the middle of the field here, just showing, you know, with how close everyone qualified there.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to run away with it unless somebody managed to sneak 150 pounds of lead into the back of that Skippy in between sessions.
Although he had the pace on everybody at Lime Rock, and I think he ran into some issues that caused him not to win that one. So anything can happen. We got 40 minutes of racing here, and it's a tough track. I think the elevation keeps it interesting.
Yeah, and I was looking at some track maps earlier, which highlighted just how much elevation change there is in this track. And it is a little tough when you're unfamiliar with the course just to anticipate which way you're going to go. So I expect, to your point, Steve, that will mix things up a little bit and should make for some really excellent racing here.
Yeah, this corner they're approaching here is called NASCAR Bend. Doesn't look like a big deal, but I find it one of the harder corners to get through at 100%. There's quite a bit of a straightaway here. You want to be on the gas probably 3 or 4 corners before this, just wide open through all these chicanes or tight bends. You're gonna be going from apex to apex, but you want to be wide open and then extend the straightaway as long as you can.
Nice little combination of turns here. Car gets a little bit of rotation. A lot of fun to really chuck it through here.
Yeah, I think the trick's to be not to go side by side, because if you're side by side, you're not going to be able to take it flat. You're going to have to lift. This corner here is called, I think, South Bend. This is where you, hopefully, if you did everything right, this is where you'll first get off the gas on that long straight, on that straightaway, which you've created. This is the second big one, beginning at Oak Tree, which is no longer there. A little disappointed they didn't put it back or put something back.
I gather they've got saplings or seedlings or something from it so they can carry it on, but I gather it's not going to go back there.
Yeah, they're approaching turn 14, also called the roller coaster. Braking's tough when you come up over the hill and the car gets light and you're kind of veering to the left on the brakes, and then you have to quickly get to the right. A lot of opportunity to screw that up. Managing that, there'll be a lot of time there if you can attack that.
We'll be coming up here to the start finish and the green flag here, the Bunny Scramble at VIR at the VRG Virtual Racer League. 40 minutes of iRacing action coming at you in the Skippy F2000s. I'm Ian Wisman and Steve Ficacci joining me here in the booth. Enjoy the race, and we're going to go green here in just a moment.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag is out. Stefan Vapp out on pole. Darren Treacle beside. We'll see who takes us into turn one.
Looks like they're already, I was going to say they're already single file at the front, but Darren Treacle sticks his nose out, makes it too wide. Cleanly through turn 1 and 2. Oh, some bumping.
A little bit of a bump there. Looks like that's Clark Orser, maybe Kurt Uzbay. Looking up with our race leaders here. Stefan Vappa out ahead of Darren Treacle. Hopefully Darren can stay close to Stefan here and give Stefan a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, if he can stay within a second and a half, the draft will pull him around pretty mightily. You know, it's not going to compensate for everything, but if he can just stay close, it'll keep the race tight. We also have Dave Curtis hanging on third. Still sticking with the draft there.
And you can see there Darren taking advantage of the draft. Giving Stefan something to look at. We can make him a little nervous there.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit careful. If you're going to commit to being drafted or being the drafter the whole race, your engine temperature can overheat. And you can blow an engine. I believe if the oil temperature hits about 280, it's going to, the engine's going to leave you. Yeah, so right about here, they need to get on the gas and not lift until they get up over that hill. You know, if you want to call it a straightaway, it makes the, well, it's the longest amount you're going to be on the gas consecutive on the whole track. happy to see Darren joined us. I know he was one of the few who didn't seem to care for this car.
Yeah, I think he's going to try and give it an honest try. He's not slowing it by any means, but I don't think it's what he's accustomed to. But yes, definitely good to have Darren here. He's a great competitor. Really a pleasure to have in this series. And if he can take it to Stefan, which I think is probably Darren's goal, he's going to do everything he can.
Yeah, a bit of a role reversal from the GT3s where Darren seemed to have the leg up. Not by a ton, but enough where he was consistently the #1 qualified car till now we're at the Skippies. Stefan Vappa has that honor, usually being the one out front. Looking at the track map, we're already spread out down the front stretch.
We got Stefan out in P1. Darren sticking with him. Dave Curtis just behind Dave Fitzgerald. And then a bit of a gap back to Don LeBayer, Bob Lang. Still got a nice group of folks running there from basically P7 on back.
Yeah, I think as long as those cars don't make contact, they'll stay close the whole race. I mean, the draft will gives and take a little bit, but should keep those guys fairly bunched up. I'm not sure any of them, or at least not yet, any of them have shown pace to be able to pull away from the rest. So I think they'll all be able to stick together. Oh boy.
Looks like Don LeBayer and Dave Fitzgerald had a bit of a coming together there. Hopefully they can rejoin here and not get too far behind.
Oh, Dave's car's missing a few wheels. Looks like Don LeBayer put two tires in the grass and hooked Dave.
Go back here real quick, see if we can take a look at that.
Yep, right there. Put his tires in the grass and that was it. Not the welcome back Dave was looking for.
No, but I'm sure Dave will get right back out there. Assuming, let's see, where he's in the pit, so he's probably getting a quick repair.
Yeah, Darren messed up a little bit on that exit of the last corner, lost a bit of time, and hopefully he can get close enough to Stefan and use the draft to get right back to his bumper. It also looks like Darren improved quite a bit through practice. Lap time dropped significantly, even through qualifying.
Yeah, he's had this uncanny ability to jump into practice with about 10 minutes left, and then almost with every lap take off a second. It's always exciting to watch Darren work his way up. Jumping down the grid a little bit, we got Ralph Padgington here in the Racer Walsh Co. ELB Racing. Facing Christian Bergens. John Wood just behind.
I like the fighter plane look on, is that Chris Bergen's car?
Yes.
Pretty neat. Yeah, a few updates ago, iRacing released the chrome and the different finishes you could put, so that really brought that livery to life.
Yeah, I need to spend some time in iRacing and the graphics and up my livery game.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can You could do some of the default straight through iRacing. There's a bunch of colors and schemes you could add. Or if you're good with Photoshop or know someone who is, you can have them pretty much do whatever you want going that way. Wow, this guy's almost went 3 wide. A little smoke coming off the tires there.
Ralph getting a little squirrely there, but he recovered.
It's awesome looking down on the. I know it's not, but it almost has the who's the guy who always had the helmet with Jackie Stewart, maybe with the flannel. Oh, well, I think it's the word I'm looking for. The flannel helmet and the elf on the front. It almost feels like an old Formula One car.
Yeah, it does actually. It's a good point. And with a resurgence in Formula Ford racing in the VRG, there's been a lot of. I mean, there you have your Club Fords, Continental Fords. I really enjoy the historic Fords, the Macons. What else is out there? Marlins, the cigar-bodied cars. Really, just to your point, probably the epitome of open wheel Formula racing.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't, never got to watch a race like that, but I sure think they look the best. John Wood sure recovered nicely from that slide.
He definitely did.
I thought he was going around.
That is bonus points there. Is a very nice recovery.
Yeah, he's still keep in touch with Ralph.
Well, of course, some good news in the real world. The VRG is going to Watkins Glen. We'll be holding our race there, which is excellent to hear. I know a number of our competitors looking forward to getting out there and having a race in the real world. That's going to be October 16th through the 18th at Watkins Glen on lovely Seneca Lake. So if you have the opportunity out there to travel and catch some racing action, I highly recommend it.
So which circuit do you guys use? You use the full layout with the chicane and everything in the boot?
Yeah, we run what I guess would be the traditional Formula One circuit. So with the bus stop, the boot,
Okay.
full configuration. Really an amazing track. I had the pleasure, the honor of driving it a couple of years back in our BMW, which was a special treat. It was the track my dad went to when he was young and his buddies to watch Formula One. He got to drive it. My wife got to drive it. I got to drive it, and it's really an awesome place to be, an amazing track. And then to go to the Seneca Lodge afterwards for prime rib and have a couple of beers and see the wreaths from past Formula One winners. Really, it's a kind of a mystical place to be as far as racing's concerned. And we'll jump back up to the front of the pack here and see what Darren and Stefan are up to.
Yep, Darren's still hanging in with it right within a second there. If he falls too much more, he's going to need to match the pace of Stefan on his own, which I'm not sure he can do, but I'm not sure he can't. Like we were saying before, he seems to find speed, so he may have this pace and just kind of sitting back and hanging out until the end of the race. But if he does fall back, he's going to need all his speed to get back up to Stefan. That's for sure. Probably the closest battle on the track still, isn't it?
It looks to be. Looks like Dave has rejoined after being in the pits picking up repairs. Just over 13 minutes into this 40-minute session, so there's time for Dave to make his way back up. But he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he was running in third, I think it was, or fourth. He was up there, so he definitely has pace, and If he can start stringing together some laps, he'll definitely move up the order. Uh-oh. He went to go to the inside and then got a block. I wasn't sure he had enough brakes to get that car slowed up.
Yeah, he is all over Christian's rear end. Looking back up the timing tower, Darren went purple.
.209, that's significantly faster than he went in practice. About a second and a half, so. I mean, he's aided by the draft, but I think he's figuring some things out, especially learning from Stefan here. He's had 15 minutes, 7 laps worth of tutoring.
You do learn a lot. I guess in this case, Stefan's kind of like Darren's ghost car. So yeah, he's got a visual reference and figuring out where Stefan's going quick.
I personally sometimes find it tough to follow someone for too long, especially when you get a big draft like this. It'll throw up all your brake points. So he's going to have to be adjusting all that, and then, if he does make a move later, he's going to have to remember where the proper brake point was, driving without the draft.
Catching up to a bit of traffic here as well, so good play into Darren's hands.
Looks like they're catching up to Eric Russell. If we let them by. Yeah, gap stayed about the same, so.
Take a cruise down the rest of the timing tower here, so everybody else is doing. Dave Curtis here, and just behind, I believe that's Bob Lang, running in some open air. Carlos Bonds way down there, just coming out of Oak Tree. Like we may have had a bit of a kerfluffle there at Oak Tree. Jumping back to Christian. I think it looks like Scott was making a pass on Christian, but things might have gotten a little mixed up. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I think the lap before we were saying how close they were. Whoa! I didn't get a close look. Is that car supposed to be rust?
I'm not sure. We have the benefit of controlling the cameras. Let's jump on the roll bar real quick. May actually be wood.
Oh, yeah.
All these guys are just a little bit longer to jump back to live action. Keep our eyes on this. It's been a close race thus far. And within almost half a second here. So making up a little bit of time.
You know, I'm sure he's trying to figure out now whether he is fast enough to keep Stefan behind him if he did get in front. You know, if he is going to make a move at the end of the race, try to figure out which straightaway to do it on that Stefan won't have the opportunity to take him back. Yeah, I think I see 3 cars up ahead that they're going to have to navigate. You know, now the cars they're starting to catch up are going to be all racing for position as well, so they're not going to want to give up too much. Scott Luttrell in front of them first here. And he lets them by. Gap got a little bit bigger to Darren.
Darren didn't benefit from that.
Yeah, I think Scott pulled over, but ended up being in the exit, the corner exit for Darren and not for Stefan. Yeah, Darren's right about in danger there of falling out of the draft if he doesn't get a little bit closer. This is a very tough corner here. You want to push it, but small margin for error.
Yeah, and that curb there is nasty if you happen to get out on it.
Yeah, he's about a second and a half back, and it's getting bigger. Might be the race. Although there are a few more cars just in front of us that maybe they'll hold up Stefan and not Darren so much. Could bring the race back to us. Yeah, Todd Angel and Dave Fitzgerald are the next 2 cars, and they're close. I'm sure Stefan's aware of what happened with Darren. He's putting in some qualifying laps to get that gap as big as he can.
Yeah. Long straightaway here.
So now after he goes over this hill, there's going to be no opportunity for him to get around these cars until the next straight. So possible they held him up.
Be curious to hear what the radios are saying right now if there's team orders, and we've got a car off there too. That's Mac McCormick. He's way out in the weeds though. Not going to impact this.
Well, it doesn't look like Stefan's going to get him by the straightaway, so he's going to have to do it here in the twisty section. Darren's still hanging about 2 seconds out. Oh, that's a bye.
Stefan made clean work of that. Let's see if Darren can also get through cleanly.
Yeah, I think Stefan's been fortunate enough to catch the traffic at just the right times to help himself. Darren, not so great the places he's catching all these cars. Oh, that's it.
Running wide.
Oh, he hit the front. He's leaving his wing on the track. That'll definitely cost him some pace. The wings are relatively flat on these cars. You know, they don't do a ton, but you need it to bounce the car out. And he's just missing his nose cone. He's going to be down some mile per hour at the end of each straightaway now. That's unfortunate.
That it is. Stefan can probably take it a bit easier now. Can't imagine he's going to back out of it to look for a race, but we shall see.
Well, I'm not convinced that if he slows down, the race will be with Darren anymore. I really don't think Darren's going to be competitive, or at least running nearly the times he was running not long ago.
It looks like Darren tucked into the pit lane there. We'll see if he gets a quick repair or pick up the next closest race on the track right now. We got Christian and Don LeBayer.
Oh, the car hit the wall as well. Maybe somebody's leaking something. I don't think they've modeled that yet.
I was wondering if they were going to get to that. It certainly would make it much more interesting, but then I guess you'd definitely have to run with flags and corner crews and kitty litter, and
yeah,
that's a whole big oyster there.
Yeah, they keep teasing rain. I'm not looking forward to it. I think without the true seat of the pants feel, I'm not sure I would enjoy it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if and when it comes.
I've experienced rain in project cars too, and Assetto Corsa Competizione certainly does change things. How true to form, I don't know, because I'm also racing cars that I have no idea how they really handle in the real world. So. Jump in the cockpit here with Chris, get a look-see from his point of view. You see he runs down Don LeBayer.
Yeah, we talked about this last season. I'm not sure everybody mapped all their tear-offs, did they?
No, it makes it difficult to see. I thought we covered that in the Season 3 wrap-up, but must have missed the memo there. Chris running a little wide there. Probably looking for his tear-off key.
Yeah, having it be so easy to hit, I hit it all the time. In the real world, you're probably only going to be able to pull a couple of those off.
Oh, so you're not limited to the number of tear-offs yet?
Not at all. Sometimes I get glare from the sun and I hit the button just to be sure. It does not clear glare.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not a tinted visor option.
That's actually been talked about. I read on some of the forums people asked for that because there's something in the graphics called HDR, and I'm not exactly sure 100% what it is, but it just makes things look better. But at sunset, it's really bad. It really will give you glare, which is true to sunset, but a lot of people shut it off so that they don't have to deal with it. But I've done endurance races, when the sun comes up and down, and there's a few corners where you just can't see. And yeah, people have echoed, my issues with it and said it'd be nice if we could have tinted tear-offs for just that reason.
It was really interesting watching Le Mans, to your point, the transition from day into night, and I think they said it's the second time Le Mans has ever been run this late in the year, so they had an additional couple hours of darkness. But that transition, obviously I think they have a driver who knows they're going to be in the transition from day to night, but just getting used to the feel, finding your braking points, the headlights, and the spatial awareness in the dark is it takes a couple hours to get acclimated to.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know I've seen in the past watching Le Mans where they say that because it's in the summer, the darkness isn't all that long. Where they often say how Daytona 24 is terrible because it's in February, or late January, and it's just the night never ends. All the drivers need to be comfortable driving at night.
Yeah, and it was interesting listening to some of the talk of the GT Pro-Ams. At least three drivers, right? One amateur. There was a couple of teams where the amateur was basically trying to sit out the nighttime stints, but the flip side to that is that then your amateur is going to be doing basically the entirety of the morning into the end of the race when you may need that pro in there.
So I've done a little bit of racing at night, and I always hated it. I didn't hate it; it was just different. But if I was going to race at night, I wanted to be racing into the night, not jumping into a car in the dark.
Right.
Gives you driving into the night. You kind of get used to it as it happens. Where when you go from, cold to a car at night, it's a big adjustment, I feel.
Ralph Padgington here, weaving a little bit to try and shake Don out of his draft. Looks like Don, however, was able to overcome Ralph's defensive maneuvers there.
Yeah, it's not going to work if the car's that close. You really, you need to be that second and a half out to be able to make that work. You're probably just slowing yourself down at that point.
And picking up here with John Wood, earlier this year they ran the Trump Car 12 Hours at VIR South. A very quick read of the rule books and just how much headlight you're allowed to strap onto those cars. They went with the brightest OEM BMW option, which was, reports from the drivers was that it was horribly insufficient. And the next night race they do, they're going to strap on a couple of lighthouse beacons. Just go for it.
Just get some night vision goggles.
Right.
Forgo the lights altogether.
Stefan passing, I believe that's Ralph Solomon there. He's got a pretty massive gap back to second place there, Dave Curtis.
Yeah, he's up to about 10th place. The winding minutes of the race here is probably about 7 minutes left. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought he would have went farther up the field just based on previous performances, but I think everybody's doing a great job. Like, we were talking earlier about the grass being here, seems to go forever, and guys have done a pretty good job, I think.
Yeah, turn one clean. It took about 2 seasons before we could have a clean. Even the pace lap is sometimes difficult. The accordion effect. If we had 20 drivers in the first season, I'd say maybe up to 15 of them were brand new to iRacing. So after a couple of seasons, we got that down. So certainly kudos to our drivers for improving and keeping
it's a bit
clean.
silly. That's actually not an easy thing to do. You know, when you're in your street car, just driving in traffic, you take for granted just, you know, the car in front of you, and you just follow it. It's just no big deal. Where in the sim, you can get in trouble quick if you're not paying attention, even under pace laps.
Yeah, for sure. Dave Fitzgerald making his way around Kurt Uzbey. Unfortunately,
Yeah, he's
for
recovered
Dave.
nicely.
Yeah.
Not the race he's looked for, but you know, he's not in last anymore.
Darren did pop in, get his car fixed up. Back out in 4th place. Not too far behind Bob Lang. Might have enough time to reel him in, but
Yeah, Darren's seems to be lapping a bit faster than these cars in front of him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he catches those cars. I mean, he looks like he has the pace about to get to second, but whether or not he can get around him, a whole nother story.
looking like Dave Curtis here is comfortable in 2nd place, unless Bob or Darren can reel him in. Looks like we may have to give Dave 15 minutes in the post-race so he can thank all of the sponsors.
Yeah, every dollar counts, right?
So we got just under about 4 minutes left here in this 40-minute race session, the VRG Virtual Racer League Bunny Scramble at VIR. We thank you for joining us out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Hit that subscribe and like button. Share with your friends. We do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on the VRG YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/vintage racer group.
Yeah, next week will be at Road America.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Personally, I think you and I should punch out of the broadcast booth and jump in the car.
Yeah, I never really cared for that circuit until recently, and I've kind of semi-fallen in love with it. I don't, you know, I'm not there yet, but I really like it, and I think being in iRacing, a lot of the American tracks get overlooked and don't get always put on the schedule, but I'm growing more fond of it.
I mean, it's an interesting statement you make there, because certainly everybody talks about, various courses. You know, best drive I ever had, you got to go at least once. And you go in iRacing, and you're just so frustrated for the first, 2 or 3 days you sit down and try and learn it.
There's a lot of tough corners. I mean, like, there aren't a ton of corners. There's a lot of long straightaways, but I mean, like, every corner's unique and got its own set of difficulties.
And Dave Curtis there might have been driving his mirrors, so Bob Lang capitalizes on that. Darren takes it as well and gets around Dave Curtis.
Yeah, Darren's only about 2 seconds back now. Yeah, I noticed that Darren had about a 2.5 second pace advantage over Bob. So if he catches him by the end, I wouldn't have been surprised. I think Darren's mistake robbed us a bit of a race here at the end here with Stefan, but I think if he can get back up to second, he'll be satisfied with that result.
For sure.
You know, I think he knew it was going to be a bit of a long shot to get around Stefan.
And Bob Lang certainly no slouch, finishing in 2nd place in Season 3, so Bob knows his way around, but Darren has his foot to the floor here.
He's gonna wait smartly. Did we get the white flag?
Not yet. Not according to my timing
Okay.
and scoring. We still
Okay.
got about a minute left.
Well, he's close enough. 4/10 back on this long straight. 3/10. 2. Yeah, he's going. Curious if Bob can hang on. Second, he's going to suck him in a little bit. He seemed a little bit weak on the first part of the track. That's where Darren seemed to make up a lot of time. So it'll be the race for him whether or not he can hang on there and then use the draft on those second 2 straightaways. I see Dave Curtis had a pit. I don't know if he had
Yeah,
more
looks
issues
like
other than his spin.
Might have had an off there. Aaron's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him, but
Oop,
he
it's a
exercises
bad place to catch a
caution
car.
and patience.
He had the lift. Bob Lang's making up a lot of time. Hey, he's back to within drafting. He's under half a second. Well, that traffic might have been just what he needed. It's like Darren's pushing hard, Bob's pushing hard. Oh!
Oh, yeah. Couple of big corrections there by Bob. He can see it.
He's got to get off this corner good.
That's checkered flag. Stefan Vappa taking the first win of the season 4 here, the Bunny Scramble. We're going to stay with this race till the end.
Yeah, he's
Bob.
catching him. I don't know if he's got enough room. He's gonna have to come out of hog pen as best he can. Just follow him through this section.
Oh boy.
Oh
We got
boy.
a car up ahead. It's a bit of a code brown there for Darren.
Oh, that was it. He made his mistake. It's like Darren's gonna hold out the second.
Darren Treacle going to hold on for second place there with Bob Lang close behind. That was a good last couple of turns there.
Yeah,
Very
that's a
exciting.
real hard corner coming down that hill and trying to hit the apex and then slide the car wide. It was gonna be a long shot, but a couple of cars helped him out. Made it a good, interesting race.
Try and pick up our last couple of cars here as they come across start and finish. Carlos running a bit wide here. Looks like John Wood's going to get him. As long as Carlos doesn't come.
I think it looked worse in the angle than it really was.
Yeah, the camera's playing tricks on us there. Where Carlos is disappointed there.
Yeah, Dave Curtis looks like he's in 6th. Curious what happened his last few laps. We had so much action, we missed it.
Jump back to a quick replay here for Dave. Oh, that's when he got loose in front of Bob. Must have stopped into the pit afterwards. Pick up Don LeBayer here as he comes across start finish, take checkered flag. And Eric Russell just ahead. And that'll do it for the first race of Season 4 here with the VRG Virtual Racer League. The Bunny Scramble at VIR, that was exciting. Stefan Vappa taking it flag to flag. Darren Treacle with an unfortunate incident there, but he managed to claw his way back up to second place. So, all things considered, some pretty exciting stuff. Pull up our race results here once they come back from timing and scoring.
Yeah, we had some great battles. I feel like I say it every week, but this is the best race we've had. Everybody's just improving so much in their racecraft and their just overall pace. Their awareness is getting better too. So when they race other cars, they can race a little closer, and it's showing.
Yeah, for sure. We'll start to pull our drivers into the broadcast booth here, get an interview. We'll try and get at least our podium finishers, maybe pick up a couple of more. Bob Lang there pulling into the pits. A couple of other cars out there on track. Pull up our points current. After the first race here in Season 4 of the Bunny Scramble, VIR, we got Stefan Vapp out on top, taking 43 points. Darren Treacle with 42, Bob Lang with 41. John Wood and Carlos finishing out the top 5 there. Nice thing about the point setup these last couple of seasons, really makes it possible for somebody that's running a little further back to have a good race and climb their way up and give whoever's out on top a bit of a run for their money.
Yeah, it's nice. Every position's important. So even if you fall back, as like Dave Fitzgerald had an issue today, but he ended up climbing his way back to I think 10th. 7-point difference between 17th and 10th where he was. So every single spot is worth something.
So I'll reach into the lobby and see who's sitting around waiting for a interview. Up with you here in just a moment. So sit tight out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Again, we thank you for joining us. Sit tight. We'll bring in our race winner, Stefan Vappa. I think we've got second place finisher Darren Treacle who's going to join us. Perhaps Bob, John, or Carlos will join as well. So sit tight, folks. Steve and I will be right back. All right, folks, this is Ian and Steve. We're back here in the broadcast booth. We've brought into the broadcast booth to join us. We've got race winner, Season 4 opener here at the Bunny Scramble, Stefan Vappa. We got second place finisher, Darren Treacle. And we've got third place, Bob Lang. Gentlemen, interesting, exciting race tonight. Stefan, you're taking that one flag to flag. We'll touch base with you in a little bit, but I suspect for the most part it was a rather straightforward drive for you. Darren and Bob, however, that was some pretty exciting stuff there towards the end. Darren, unfortunate early in the race, but you certainly made it exciting for Steve and I up in the booth and the watchers out on the internet there towards the end. Why don't you tell us a bit about that, Darren?
Yeah, it was a fun race. It's not, I will say right off the bat, it's not my most favorite car in the world to drive, but I haven't actually even been on iRacing in quite a while, but it was fun. I was chasing Stefan and just trying to make him sweat a little bit. And I got held up a little bit coming out of Oak Tree when we were passing someone. And then I don't know what happened. I went to upshift, and for whatever reason, it didn't upshift, and I was on the rev limiter. So I kind of lost touch with Stefan after that. And then I was passing another couple guys going through Oak Tree, lost it, went into the tire wall. The wing wasn't there. So I was like, you know what, let me go in and do a fast repair real quick. And I did. And so then I had to mount the charge to get past, catch up with Bob. And I think maybe Dave Curtis.
Yeah.
And so and then I caught up. Well, Dave went off and allowed me and Bob to go through, and then I was able to get by Bob, and then I got held up a little bit right before the S's, so Bob caught back up, and then we both almost got taken out by I think maybe Ralph Solomon as he's across the track.
Yeah.
That added like a little moving chicane to the race, which was exciting.
Spinning in the roller coaster.
Yeah. So it was fun.
Yeah, you definitely had your fair share of lapped cars. It seemed like in the early on when you were trying to chase Stefan, he was catching the cars at just the right time where you were getting held up. And then you had us guessing because we weren't sure if you had the pace to catch Stefan because throughout practice, through qualifying, you kept getting faster. So we were like, you followed Stefan for 15, 20 minutes. You might have some pace on him now. We don't even know, but it just seemed like the traffic didn't work out for you at all.
No, it didn't. And I will say that when I went into the pits to get my fast repair. I had to turn off the tire change and the refueling, but for whatever reason, the refueling didn't turn off. So it filled me back up, which delayed me even more, which I'd added a little extra weight. But I didn't catch the lappers at a good time, and but it was fun. It was fun trying to make Stefan sweat a little bit and make a mistake.
So Bob, we'll pass to you there. Pretty exciting stuff there towards the end. Tell us about those last couple of laps because it was exciting for Steve and I, and we definitely we all gasped at the Code Brown there just towards the end with Ralph.
Yeah. Dave Curtis and I were turning fairly similar laps, and then he said something about running out of gas, I guess, and he spun at the top of the by Hogpen. So that put me in second, and I saw Darren coming, and when I just gave him some space because I'm like, I don't have his pace. I was at least 2 seconds off, so I'm like, let him go. I don't need to challenge that. And it was really funny catching up on the spinning car again on the last lap. I thought, oh, this is going to be exciting. So worked out.
Yep. Good stuff. I guess we should look to Stefan. Obviously, first race of season 4 here, and you're champion from season 3. Bob finishing there in second place just behind you last season. Stefan, tell us a bit about your drive. You were blisteringly quick there in qualifying for sure. And you had a pretty close race there with Darren for a while. But otherwise, once Darren had his shunt, looked to be pretty well in hand for you.
Yeah, it was definitely a race of two halves. The first half was, I admit, a little damp. I was starting to sweat it out a little bit there. It was just really difficult to break away, and the lapped cars, you could catch them at just the wrong time or just the right time, and managed to make it through okay. But it was definitely challenging, and like you, I did not know whether he had the pace or was hanging on in the slipstream or what was going on, but I could not break. I don't know. I think that for those first several competitive laps, it was no more than 9/10 of a gap maximum, and anything under a half a second of a gap, he starts to close on the slipstream pretty significantly, and you got to start thinking about what's going to happen at the turn at the end of the straightaway. And this track is, I mean, it's really 3 straightaways. You've got the back straight and the front straight, but if you do it right, you're flat from the apex of left hook all the way through the uphill S's. And that's actually the longest section of foot flat to the floor, no lift on the whole track. And you can catch a draft there just as much. And it seemed like he was a little quicker through the bend at the top there before you head down to Oak Tree. And so I was always trying to maximize Oak Tree as best as I could, which seemed to work just barely enough. And then, like he says, we got into the lap traffic, caught up to Scott, and I looked at my relative, and it suddenly went from 9/10 of a second to 11 seconds. And so at that point, just tried to keep my concentration high and work through the lap traffic. There was a couple of moments there where I think people get nervous when you first come up to them. Kurt nearly took himself out as I was trying to lap him. But other than that, like you say, fairly straightforward there towards the end.
Well, it was good stuff from up here, and it was a nice sized field for this first race. And Steve, who is knowing of all things as we're broadcasting up here, keeping his eyes on the timing sheets and seeing how, Darren's got pace at, one end of the track versus the other, and, between him and Bob there towards the end. Some really good stuff up here. And I think, Darren, while it may not be your favorite car to drive, it's certainly exciting for us to watch you very quickly acclimate. And I'm sure Bob was, enjoying the end of the race there, but probably also, Bob, probably a little frustrated there. So you're going to be gunning for him in the next event, I would expect.
Could happen.
So we're going to head out to Road America, which is going to be, I think a fun experience for most everybody. Steve and I have been talking up here about what races we're going to be driving as opposed to broadcasting. So maybe we'll be out there with you next week at Road America. But the first race of the season here in season 4, gentlemen, some good stuff. Darren, Bob, I think everybody's going to be looking at you to give Stefan a race next week for sure. And
sounds like fun.
Gonna try.
That's what we like to hear. Well, we
No
think.
lifting.
Go ahead.
No lifting at the kink. No lifting at the kink.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Only in iRacing.
Bob,
I
maybe
don't know.
we'll.
I haven't tried this car there yet, so I don't know what it's like.
Well, there you go. We'll have to let the rest of the grid know that Stefan might be at a disadvantage here, certainly. And Bob, if you wouldn't mind throwing together a quick instructional video, we'll make sure to share it with everybody and see if we
It might have a few crashes in it.
It can still be instructional that way, Bob, just so you know.
Oh, I can tell you what not to do in places.
Well,
right, anyway, sorry.
Any closing thoughts there for you, Steve, before we thank our competitors and sign off for the evening?
Yeah, it was just a great race. I really, I said before that it's our best race yet, and I say that every week, but the level of competition raises every week, and it makes for a great show.
It definitely does. Watching turn 1 clean, watching a clean pace lap, very exciting things having watched this progress through these seasons. And I think it's just kind of a testament to everybody contributing and sharing and learning together, even if it's a little uncomfortable at first. Quick to reset, get back out there and try again. So great stuff up here. Stefan, Bob, Darren, thanks for keeping it exciting out there. We're looking forward to seeing you race again next week at Road America.
Cool.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. That ought to be fun.
I think so. All right, gentlemen. Well, we're going to kick you out of the broadcast booth. Steve and I are going to sign off. Thanks again, Stefan. Congratulations on your win. Darren, Bob, good luck next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yep.
Yep. Bye.
All right, Steve. Well, that wraps it up for the first race here at the Season 4, the Bunny Scramble at VIR. Thanks again very much for joining me up here in the booth. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And perhaps we'll be back here next week. Maybe we'll be out on track. I guess you and I will sit down in Discord and figure out what races we're going to do and have a little fun out there, so we're not just sitting here jawing away the whole time.
Yeah, we'll be here in one capacity or another, right?
Exactly. All right, folks. Well, that does it. Steve and I are going to sign off for the evening. We appreciate you joining us out there on YouTube and Facebook land. Hit the subscribe, hit the like buttons, share with your friends. We'll do this again next Tuesday night. We're going to Road America. Let me change up my graphics here real quick so we can get to that final closing screen there. Steve, again, thank you, sir. You yourself have a good evening and a rest of your week, and we'll see you next week there with the VRG Virtual Racer League.
Thank you, and good night.
Thanks, Steve. All right, folks, that does it. This is Ian Wisman, the VRG, Steve Ficacci. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Starting Tuesday night, 8 p.m., we'll be at Road America. Join in and watch. And if you want to come race with us, get in touch. Happy to have you join us. Good night, everybody.